Hello everyone and welcome back to these videos. I am fine again, I am alive, I'm okay, I'm happy. This video is a bit ghost themed. For the next video I will try and mix them up a bit, and in future I will also do some urban legends and stuff. So if you have any that you would like me to talk about, they will be the urban legend ones, and especially like stories like that I want to specifically record with my face for a change, because then I don't need to read off a screen and everything, so it's much easier. But yeah, so if you guys have any of those stories, please let me know. But today's stories are just ghost themed apparently, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's a favorite one you really enjoyed, let me know and enjoy the video. I just want to know if this is a mental illness or real paranormal activity. So recently, I was driving down the road probably around 11 PM with my daughter in her car seat. She's under 2 years old. We were on our way to pick her mother up from work. While driving down the road with music playing and one window down, I'm always glancing in my window and mirrors just to be aware of the road and everything around me. Regularly checking my windows and mirrors, I glanced twice at my rearview mirror, and the second time, what I saw almost made me swerve off the road into a tree. I looked in my mirror and I saw a ghostly woman with long black hair, fair skin, and dark eyes looking down at my baby in the child's seat, and then her one eye, side face towards me, hair covering her half face, looking right at me in the mirror. After almost swerving off the road, I regained control of the car and looked straight ahead and told myself inside my head, "Don't freak out, don't freak out, don't look yet, don't look." After a couple of seconds, I glanced in the mirror again because my child's back there and she's gone. I instantly look back ahead and I'm scared but glad she's not there. Then instantly I turn around and feel around my backseat flooring to make sure it's not a real person hiding behind the back seats. There was nothing there, and I returned to driving to pick up my wife at her job. But surprisingly, this is not the only thing that's been happening lately. There are even incidents my wife has been having around our house now too. Doors moving slightly, roof ladder hatch slamming randomly, even after I checked how heavy the hatch was to make sure it couldn't be the wind. Then screwed it straight into the wood so technically cannot move even if it was wind. What makes me question if it's mental illness is the fact a year ago, while I was driving down the road morning around 8 AM, it sounds like a woman in my back seat had just yelled into my ear while I was driving down the road, almost causing me to swerve into the oncoming traffic lane. But after regaining control, I instantly grabbed the volume knob to turn it down in case it was my speakers. But my volume was not even at 10. Instantly I realized it wasn't my music, and look around the car to see if there was someone else outside, and there's barely any cars around. Instantly I'm on edge, and I'm paranoid while driving to work, and wondering if I was going crazy. This happened some time ago in the early 2000s. It's not made up. I really experienced these events, even if they sound crazy. My parents were in a rough patch, and my dad had moved out of the house. I was in high school at the time. It started out one night my mom and I were watching TV. It sounded like scratching noises, heavy dragging noises in the attic, and we immediately assumed raccoons. I don't remember the timeline exactly, but we kept hearing this noise, and each time, maybe a few nights later or a week later, the noise slowly crossed from one end of the attic all the way to the other end of the house. My mom did have company come check for animals, but they didn't find any. Then the real scary stuff started happening. I was asleep one night and woke up to a figure next to my bed. My best description is a shadow person. I slowly grabbed my blanket and covered myself up with just a peephole to watch it. It was entirely black, even darker than the room around it, and it looked like the darkness was slowly steaming off of it. I was both amazed and terrified. I watched it for what felt like hours, until it slowly backed out of the room. I was afraid to leave my bed. Eventually I fell asleep. The next morning at breakfast, my mom said she saw someone standing at the foot of her bed, and then I told her what I had seen. There was a heaviness in that house after that. Other times I remember waking up at night and hearing voices and whispering. Sometimes I could hear music playing like it was an old theater or something. When I peeked outside my room, the noises would cease. One night, the dresser drawer at the foot of my bed slammed and opened shut. Another night, my mom started screaming in the middle of the night, and I grabbed my baseball bat and ran into her room. Just outside of her bedroom door was a chair, and I swear I saw this shadow figure sitting in it as I ran into her room. She told me someone had laid down on the bed next to her. As the encounters progressively got more frightening, we were afraid to stay in the house at night. I would sleep with all the lights on, if I could sleep at all. We started spending the night in a hotel. Even in the daytime, you would hear things like someone calling your name. I can't remember how long the haunting lasted. I'm guessing at least 3 to 4 months had passed, and my mother was tired of being afraid in her own house. So she had the house blessed. Sometime in the next few days, my mom was heating up a cup of water for tea in the microwave, and it exploded in the microwave. I asked her how long she had put it in the microwave. Then boom! These loud scratching sounds ran down the walls around us as a dark mist filled the house, and the voices and whispers all around us. My mother and I grabbed each other's arms in horror. All these sounds were happening simultaneously, and then this very deep, unnatural voice began taking over. All the other noise, it was deep and unnatural, and if it was some sort of language, I've never heard anything like it, not even to this day. As my mother and I stood there, we looked down the hall towards the voice. Something was there, like a fucking horror movie. It was quadruply made of darkness, like drawn with a Sharpie in the air. It had what looked like several rows of spins down its back. And then my mother started to pray, and so did I. The creature slowly backed down the hall and into my bedroom, and all the noises and voices faded away. The mist/haze seemed to follow it down the hallway until everything returned to normal. Never saw or experienced anything again in that house. If anyone was curious, yes, when friends came over they would have experiences as well. I've had other experiences since then, but nothing like that back then. I was around the age of 7 years old. Everyone else was asleep. I was up late watching TV, trying to go to sleep. It was around 3:45 a.m., and when I looked out the window, I saw a shadow figure move really fast. I looked away for a couple of minutes, and it was still there, but no one was outside of the window. I didn't hear footsteps in the grass. Then around 3:58 a.m., I felt someone breathing on my neck. As the breathing got louder, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked behind me, a tall black figure with a hat. One arm down and one arm touching my shoulder. It had long fingers. 4:30 a.m. comes. The shadow person is finally gone. I finally went to sleep. When I was 11, 12 years old, I started seeing shadow people with deep red eyes glowing. Then the person would disappear. Then they would appear a few minutes after I saw the first shadow person. I saw shadow people with white eyes, creepy smiles that would whisper, and then they would disappear into the darkness. As I got older, 12 to 14, I would start falling asleep before 3 a.m. and sleep until 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. so I didn't have to experience that again. Because if I don't know, it's going to be much worse and much more powerful. Between the ages 15 to 17, I started to do some research on what I saw. I watched a YouTube video about creepy paranormal encounters that have happened to other people. Later in the video, the topic on shadow people was being discussed. I was relieved that I wasn't going through these experiences alone, that I wasn't going insane. I'm a 19-year-old, currently doing my first year in an art school in Singapore. Before attending this school, I have heard a lot of stories about this school, like students hearing soldiers marching in the building at 9 p.m, women crying in the toilets, and people running in the school building even though it's already 12 midnight. However, I always thought of realistic explanations in these stories. Come on, it's an art school. Those marching could be the dance students. Crying in the toilets is common because of the stress students get from the assignments. And running 12 midnight? I did that a few times to run away from the guards because I couldn't use my own laptop to do my assignments. So I stayed in the school's computer labs to do them. But on 18 November 2022, something horrifying happened that changed my mind. It was a Friday night and there weren't a lot of students in the building. My school is located at the heart of the busiest location in Singapore. Clubs and bars are nearby. We're surrounded by hotels and we're pretty much surrounded by iconic places and malls. So most students are out to party, especially because it is the last day of the semester. I was in my classroom, alone doing my assignments. I was having a bad day, and I did not bother going to a cafe or just going home to do my work because I really needed to smoke from time to time. I wasn't smoking cigarettes, of course. My classroom could have to take to that, but I always bring a vape with me to smoke it while I'm alone in class. Living in a strict country and home, I am not allowed to vape at all, hence why I'm doing my assignments in the classroom. I looked at the time and it was already 10:30 p.m. I was surprised the guards didn't even bother going up to check if the students left the property already. I debated if I should stay or leave later and catch the last train. I stayed, somehow, and continued doing my essay. A while later, I heard someone trying to open the door. The door isn't locked or anything. It can only be opened with the staff and student ID cards. I looked at the glass panel of the door and didn't see anyone. I opened the door and didn't see anyone. It's impossible for someone to run and hide. It takes quite a while to find a place to hide because it's an open space. At that point, I was still not creeped out as I was stressed with the assignments. It happened again, but this time I saw a creepy face in the panel looking straight at me. Its eyes were wide, a huge grin on its face, and the rest of the face was just pitch black. I froze, not knowing if I should look away, but at this point, this thing knew I could see it. I reached for my phone slowly while looking at it, not blinking at all. It watched my movements intensely. The door handle shook again, and I have never been so thankful of the card function for the door. I quickly called my boyfriend who was at a gig nearby, and frantically asked him to come to my school to fetch me. This thing wouldn't go away, and at this point, I keep asking myself if that was a human with a mask, but its features moved naturally. My boyfriend FaceTimed me this time, and I looked at the screen to look at where he was at. I looked up again, and the face wasn't there anymore. I looked up at the screen, and I could see my boyfriend reach into the classroom. The door shook again, but this time it's my boyfriend. I opened the door and hugged him. I was shaking so bad, and the whole time we hugged, he calmed down and told me he didn't see anything, so we're safe now. We packed my bag and immediately left the building. We have this belief where if a ghost or spirit shows itself to you, you are not allowed to go home immediately, as it will follow you. Instead of catching the last train, my boyfriend and I decided to sit at a nearby coffee shop and eat supper. Though it happened recently, I don't know what that was, and I'm never staying in that classroom late at night alone. So we moved into my apartment in 2018-2019. It didn't start immediately, it started randomly. Little things like stuff moving to different places and feeling like something was watching me. One day, last year, me and my sister were watching YouTube, and it randomly changed to Hulu. The remote was on the table. We changed it back to YouTube, and it went back to Hulu again. We were spooked, so we decided to play a game. While we were playing, we heard a step in my sister's room. We were home alone. We were scared, but I got up and went to my sister's room and saw a shadow figure in the corner of my eye. We were pretty spooked, but nothing happened after that, besides tiny stuff. Fast forward to yesterday, I had a friend over, and me and my friend love watching ghost stories. We were playing Just Dance, and we heard something fall in the kitchen. We went to go investigate, and we saw a lid fell. It didn't make sense because it was on the counter before we were there. We just went back to playing Just Dance. I have to be home alone today, and honestly I don't know what to do. Update. My friend left and nothing really happened until 11 p.m. I saw a shadow figure in the corner of my eye, and my dog started to bark in that direction for 15 minutes. That is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, please subscribe, please turn on the notifications. All these things do help me quite a lot, and so that I know what exactly you guys like and what you would like to see more of in future. If you want to support my Patreon, it is down in the description. You don't have to, it's just if you want to. Your girl's not forcing you to do anything. But anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.